County. I'd also like to have a lot of meetings with our mayors outside of the area, meet with all of our mayors inside of Monroe County, and get together and have meetings at least 3 or 4 times a year to discuss our future. I don't think that's ever been done, and I want to make a change in that. With that being said, anybody, please remember the election's coming up. Anybody wants to vote in early May election, contact the voting commission at 442-2461. Thank you.
Thank you. I think we were having some issues with our live stream, but that's corrected now. So again, you can tune on to both of our stations or go on our website, mytrueoldies.com. Now we'll move on to our questions. The candidates will have 60 seconds each to answer this question. And Tommy, if you don't care to ask the first question, and we'll start with Tim Yates on this one.
Mr. Yates, what distinguishes you from the other candidates in this race?
I think it's my experience. You know, I had multiple years as a small business owner, and you know, I learned how to have to live by budget, and I think that really sets me apart from either of the candidates. I don't think any of those have ever been a small business owner. Also, like I said earlier, the government work is different from anything they've ever done. It gives the past year's experience and training that I've received over 8 years, I think it really sets me apart from the other candidates. We also provide an open door policy, and we're open to everyone. I think probably 90-something% of the people that's ever tried to come into my office has got to see me, and I think I'm open. Honesty and transparency, that has been our motto through the years.
Regina Burns, same question. What distinguishes you from the other candidates in the race?
What distinguishes me is I have 15 years of leadership experience along with a master's, which I'm unsure if anybody here has a master's because no one's brought it up, but I'm very proud of my master's. I'm great with the community. I've been all over. I've always had leadership jobs. Everybody says I'm a born leader. It's just something I love to do. I love working with people of all ages, young and old. That's why I did Meals on Wheels. I also did Visiting Angels. And it's just something I love. So that's what I hope to do, and I hope to be a great leader and get to know all the people in Monroe to help make Monroe County a better place with the young and with the old.
Thank you. Megan Shaw, what makes you different from the other candidates in the race?
I'm presently captain of Monroe County Rescue Squad. I've been there up to, it's almost 26 years now. I too have learned how to balance budgets and keep us from getting into negative on our budgets every year. I've been a captain almost 10 years, and with that qualifications, I've had to constantly watch our spending, make sure we don't misappropriate any funds, and push forward to the future. As you know, we're building a new station, and it's for a 30-year term. I've tried to push forward in the future of providing emergency services to this county. Feel like I'm a good people person. I do not have a bachelor's or anything like Miss Burns does, but a lot of times I've discussed a lot of topics with several business people, and they went with my ideas. With that being said, they've exceeded beyond their wildest dreams. So, not saying I'm smarter than anybody in this room, but I think that with a lot of good ideas.
Thank you. Mitch Ingram, what distinguishes you from the other candidates in the race?
Thank you, Brian. I do have a bachelor's and a master's from the University of Tennessee at Knoxville. What distinguishes me from other candidates, I feel that I'm a lifelong learner. I've been in education for 22 years now at the secondary and post-secondary level, but more importantly, I've been in the people business. I've been in customer service with people, and I have a large network of people, not only in education, but in agriculture too. And yes, we have a small farm, which we have a relatively large budget, and my wife and I have a livestock marketing firm operation, which includes a rather large budget that we deal with. So I feel that with honesty, transparency, but most of all, compassion is something that I have. And that's something I want to carry on to the citizens and the taxpayers of Monroe County, having that compassionate heart.
Thank you. We'll move on to question 2, and we will start with Regina Burns on this question. If elected, would you plan to make any staff changes?
If I am elected currently, I will keep whoever is in the positions right now. I'm not one to change from one party to the next. I like to go with experience and who does the job the best. So right now I'm keeping who is. I have no plans to terminate or fire anybody.
Megan Shaw, same to you.
I would keep the same staff. I would like to go through and make sure their qualifications meet the standards, the correct standards, what's to be met in our county. There would probably be some consolidation of jobs. I won't say I'm going to fire anybody, but I think there's some more workload that needs to be put on each different individual in their jobs.
Mitch Ingram, if elected, would you make staff changes?
I think every position, Brian, has to be evaluated, certainly from the supervisors on down. But we have some outstanding employees in Monroe County government, and I have the utmost respect for each and individual one, but every individual will be evaluated based on their qualifications, and also I agree with Megan, there will be some consolidations to save taxpayer money.
Tim, I'll ask you that question. Since you are the incumbent, I'll ask that a little bit different. How do you go about, you went about evaluating people who work for you?
I evaluate at least every month, and sometimes more often. I have my directors come into the office. We go over what they're doing at least on a monthly basis. I stay in touch with them. Every office that we have is excelling. We are having a little bit of problems in our ambulance service, but I've not failed in any office yet, and myself, along with Gary Smith and his staff, we will get it worked out, and we would like to continue to provide a service to our county.
You're listening to Monroe County Political Forum right here on Oldies 98.3 WMTY and WDEH AM 800. You can also watch online on our website, mytrueoldies.com, as we are working with the Advocate and Democrat newspaper tonight. We'll move on to question 3, and Tommy, if you don't care to pose that to Megan Shaw.
What are your plans for assisting in continued economic growth in Monroe County?
I would like to go out and venture forth and get a committee together, a committee that's not going to cost the taxpayer any money. I'd like to go and talk to a lot of these industries and try to bring them into our county. I know we got plenty of room to grow, a lot of areas that can be definitely superseded in, and help our economy big time.
Mitch Ingram, talking about growth in Monroe County, what would be your plans there, and economic growth?
Economic growth, thank you, Brian. Of course, a lot of numbers been thrown out in the last couple of weeks, this number of jobs and that number of jobs, but let me say this. The important number that we better consider is a study that Randy Boyd did in 2019 when he was talking about economic disruption in counties. Monroe County, in his study, is number 5. And that means with automation and the robotics in our factories, that Monroe County stands to lose 54.6% of those jobs. We have to continue to teach soft skills, vocational skills, and improve career technical education. College is too late. It needs to start in middle school, high school, and then in the post-secondary level.
Mr. Yates, economic growth in Monroe County, plans moving forward.
Plans moving forward, we'll continue working with our vocational training so we have staff available when companies are needed. We've also started a program of the top 10 academic achievers through our school system, and we did that so we could introduce them to our industry so they knew the young talent that was available, and to show the kids they don't have to leave the county, they can find a prosperous position here in the county. The professionals across the state, they will tell you that 80% of growth comes through expansions. They say the number one thing to work on is retention. Keep what companies that you have now, what industry that you have now, and build upon them. Make sure they stay happy. Number 2, support the industry so that they can expand. And we work tirelessly every day helping our companies expand, and that's where we got 1,600 new employees.
Okay, Regina, before I pose the question to you, my sound guy's asking me that you lean into your mic a little bit closer when you answer.
Okay.
And economic growth, what are your plans if elected in assisting in economic growth in Monroe County?
Currently, in the past 10 years, a lot of manufacturing companies have not chosen Monroe County as their focus. They have chose Loudoun, McMinn, other counties to bring their plants in. So I would strongly focus on getting new businesses and companies to want to choose Monroe County to put their businesses in and plants. I would also talk with local businesses to help increase pay better, to compete with other companies outside our county that pays employees better, on why people in Monroe choose to go and work for companies such as Denso or Volkswagen in Chattanooga, because the pay's better, and hoping to influence them to influence paying our citizens here better, that they will stay here in Monroe County to work.
Megan Shaw, your plans for assisting continued economic growth in Monroe County?
Would be to invite some of the plant owners to come in Monroe County, sit down and speak with them on their needs, of what they need. A lot of places has EPA standards they have to go by, restrictions they have to go by. We definitely need to consider them and growth and expectation. I know Chattanooga has to pass a tag admission control for their tags and stuff on EPA. It's probably coming forward on up into the county since we're so close to the mountains. I know where I work, they deal with a lot of the EPA situations. So we need to definitely invite a lot of people in and discuss the climate, EPA and stuff, to help our factories grow more. A lot of people have got restrictions on them in that sense.
You're listening to Monroe County Political Forum here on Oldies 98.3 WMTY and WDEH AM 800. You can also watch our live video stream online right now at mytrueoldies.com. They're in the center of our homepage. And we also appreciate the working relationship of the Advocate and Democrat newspaper here with us tonight. The first part, we are currently talking to our candidates for Monroe County Mayor. Coming up about 8 o'clock, we'll talk to the candidates for Monroe County Sheriff. Let's continue with the questioning here, and this one will start with Tim Yates. I believe that's where we're at, right? I was back to Mitch. Sorry about that. Mitch, we'll start with you. I would like to hear your thoughts on county revenue. Can you bring in more county revenue without raising taxes?
Well, I think, and that just goes back to the previous question, Brian, new industry brings revenue into Monroe County. Obviously, some other ways that we can do that would be through tourism. We just had a consulting firm just recommend that we increase our tourism taxes to help with revenue. But also, we need to still focus on expanding our jobs, and we certainly need to improve those as we're going forward. And one thing that in economic development, continuing with that to improve revenue in our county, we have to be aggressive, absolutely aggressive in seeking these factories. We just had a young lady that spoke to the county commission last evening, and she very tearfully said, if we only had a factory in Tellico Plains.
All right. Tim Yates, talking about bringing revenue and the relationship there with taxes.
Bringing in revenue, there is not other options. In revenue, it has to be some type of a tax. So you have to look at taxing, which Mitch mentioned, a taxing on the tourism part, but he is right. We do have to, the way to increase revenues, we can do that through aggressively bringing in new factories and creating more jobs, and that's what we're doing every day. You just can't go out here and what a lot of us don't understand about government, you can't just go out and call companies. I thought the same thing when I ran in 2010. I was going to go out and I was going to call all these companies. When you start calling them, they won't answer your phone call. They know our county before they get here.
Regina Byrne, the same question to you. Can you bring in revenue into the county without having to raise taxes?
Yes, I do believe I can. I do think that the main focus that it could be is increasing more tourism to our mountain areas. I don't think that we have the increase in the last 20 years as Gatlinburg and Pigeon Forge. I think if we opened up some type of hotel that people could stay up, like near Ball River Falls and things like that, or Indian Boundary, that's close to the casinos in North Carolina and our county, that would bring more revenue on wanting the people to travel here and to visit our county. And then more revenue too is, like I said before, bringing more factories and businesses to want to build here in Monroe again. Instead, they've chose other counties to put their plants instead of Monroe. And I would definitely make it a main focus on bringing those factories here more, or to open up in the current empty factories to move here with their business.
Megan Shaw, can you bring in revenue without raising taxes?
Yes, I believe I could, Brian. When I was a policeman back in 2001, I know this to be a fact because, like I said, I was a policeman there, and it was discussed amongst the Tellico City Planning Committee. There was an alcohol distillery plant that wanted to build there. Like I said, I'd like to get all the mayors together and discuss our future of Monroe County. This was turned down, and I'm not for sure why. Also, there was a theme park, not naming no names, was wanting to build a water park there. It was turned down as well. That's why I'd like to get some county mayors together and build a good plan. I think we could do a lot of good for this county without raising taxes.
All right, moving on to the next question, and we'll start with Tim Yates. Tommy, if you don't care.
What do you believe the biggest challenges are facing small businesses in our county, and how would you help them address those challenges?
The challenges is putting forth a good product. Small business, they have to be an entrepreneur. They have to know their business. Helping them get established, someone to help them, learn the taxing, the way everything's set up, their insurances. Our ECD director, he works with folks like that every day, and I've got 3 pages full of businesses that started in Monroe County just over the past 4 years. So we are assisting those small businesses today, and Brian does that through his office.
All right, Regina, same question. The biggest challenges facing small business in the county, and what would you do to address those?
The biggest key that I think they need to focus on is advertising. I do not feel like that they advertise enough. More online, on the internet, Facebook pages, to let people know that they're here, because a lot of these businesses and McMinn people and Knoxville people has no idea what to even visit here. And I think if they focus more on advertising, it would bring a lot more business to them.
We know a good couple of places to advertise, don't we, Tom?
I don't think of a couple.
All right, Megan Shaw, biggest challenges facing small business in our county, and how would you address those?
One of them would be advertisement. Another one would be to try to help them out in seeking their goals and building a board together to help them undergo any kind of situation they may need, whether it's buying stuff out of town or in town. A lot of people come and they don't know where to go as a small business person. They know to open the shop, start creating revenue, but they don't, like Regina said, they don't know how to advertise, or even where to even start with advertisement on that. But I think we could help them out as a county entity and the county commission. We could set together a committee and have a good relations with them.
Mitch, same question. The biggest challenges you believe facing small business in our county, and what would you do to address those?
Well, the biggest challenge is sustainability. 7 out of 10 small businesses nationwide never see year 5. And what we must do, we must work hand in hand with these small businesses and provide them with the education through workshops and anything that we could possibly do to help them with the business aspect. They may be the greatest restaurant, they may provide the best product, but sometimes it's the leadership and the management skills that they lack. It may be the workers' compensation, it may be insurance, it may be W-2s, 1099s. That's the kind of infrastructure that we as a county can help provide, but more importantly, we can provide tax incentives to help these small businesses.
You're listening to Monroe County Political Forum. Right now we have our candidates for Monroe County Mayor. As they're seated, Republican candidate Mitch Ingram, Republican candidate Tim Yates, the incumbent, and then Democrat candidate Regina Burns, and Republican candidate Megan Shaw. And moving on with the questioning, we'll start with Regina Burns on this question. Tell us about your long-term vision. What are the top 3 priorities as you see it for this county?
My top 3 priorities is to increase employment for jobs to be better in Monroe County. Another focus I would like to focus on is our environmental issues here, to be sure our county is in the safest possible with our air and any type of our water or anything like that. And another focus is the animal shelter. As everybody knows me, I'm big on animals, and I would like to focus on making our shelter a no-kill shelter and building a new animal shelter for all of our pets, for people to come and adopt them here. So.
Thank you. Megan Shaw, long-term vision, the top 3 priorities facing this county, in your opinion.
I'd like to create more jobs for the county, more jobs that's going to stay. I'd also like to help our schools, the Sheriff's Department, EMS, Fire Department, rescue, stuff like that. Kind of like Regina said, I'd like to help the animal shelter as well. One key thing that's not been talked about, I'd like to reduce or abolish a wheel tax. The wheel tax has been brought up several times, especially some are elderly. Some are elderly, cannot afford it. I'd like to at least try to reduce some of the wheel tax burden on them.
Okay. Mitch Ingram, long-term vision, top 3 priorities for this county, in your opinion.
As county mayor, one thing I've said that I would do is create a 5, a 10, and a 15-year plan. But my 1 and 1A go together, and that's industry and education. They go hand in hand. We have to have good schools to have good industry. And our wheel tax, it brings in about $900,000 a year. And I know our schools receive about $7,500 per student based on BEP money. Monroe County Schools has about 5,300 students. Sweetwater City Schools has about 1,500 students. We've got to help Mr. Blankenship and our Board of Education continue to prove. However, I'm giving up the seat that can do that financially. But I certainly will assist in anything that I can do in improving our school system, because that's what these industries look at, is our qualitative of schools in Monroe County. Number 3 would certainly be our broadband provide information.
Okay, Tim Yates, long-term vision, top 3 priorities for this county.
Top 3, number 1 would be helping our school system, because like some have said, education really helps our economic and community development. So we are going to work hard with our schools to make sure that we have that continuing education and vocational training as well. Number 2, continue our economic community development, job growth, retention, and expansion. Number 3, I think, is to improve on our communications through our emergency responders, through our volunteer fire departments, rescue squad, ambulance service, sheriff's department, so when they get in dire situations, that they'll have correct radio systems to call.
Thank you. I'm going to ask a follow-up to that question, and I'm going to start in the same order, since the follow-up to this question. All of you in some form, one of your priorities in some form was jobs in a roundabout way. So I'm going to ask you, tell me specifically, as county mayor, what you can do in that role to bring more jobs to this county. Regina.
I would look as a whole to what businesses that is currently wanting to expand right now in the United States that are looking for spots. And my main focus would be, of course, to communicate with those businesses to want to bring their industry here. Hopefully, our county focus on better tax rates to influence them to want to put their businesses here to bring more jobs into our county.
Thank you, Regina Burns. Now moving on, Megan Shaw, same thing. Specifically, what could you do as county mayor to bring more jobs to this county?
I believe advertisement, seeking one-on-one with different companies like Denso and stuff like that. People know Denso. There's one plant in Athens, there's one in Mayoral. It's growing every day and it's looking for new places to grow. I work on the railroad. I know a lot of industries up and down the road, Toyo Tire, a lot of places that's looking to grow. I mean, they're really wanting to grow. We have J-Tech in Monroe that's growing every day. And I know them jobs are hard to fill, but that's one of the reasons I think it'd be a good for being mayor, go out and educate people and help them get a good job.
Mitch Ingram, specifically, as county mayor, what would you do to promote job growth in this county?
Being aggressive in recruiting, but more importantly, I think that the mayor has to be a liaison with the county commission in giving tax incentives and tax breaks to these companies to entice them to come in. And that would include one of my number 3 things that I mentioned, and that was broadband internet. 30% of Monroe County does not have access to fiber internet at this time. That is one thing that industries look at very critically, along with education.
Thank you. Tim Yates, specifics on what you would do to promote more job growth.
We're going to put a more emphasis on our boating industry. Here in Monroe County, we have the largest industry in boating manufacturing in the state, and we have 4 of the top 8 leading boat manufacturers in Monroe County. So all of those are growing. We're working with them. We provide incentives every day. In case people don't know, we do provide incentives to industry now. So we're working with that, and also we've been working with Oak Ridge and carbon fiber products, and we're at the brink. We've had some companies online, and it just takes a long time to get some of these to commit to your county. So those are the things that we're working with, and boating and carbon fiber.
Thank you. You're listening to a Monroe County political forum. Right now we have the candidates for Monroe County Mayor. Coming up at about 8 o'clock roundabout, we'll have the candidates for Monroe County Sheriff. This is a working relationship here with WMTY and the Advocate and Democrat newspaper. Tommy Millsaps of the paper here with me. And Tommy, let's go on with the next question, and we'll start with Megan Shaw on in.
How important is it to expand educational opportunities, and what specifically would you do to expand educational opportunities for Monroe County students in order to continue to grow the county and its industries?
I think it's very important, Tom. Our children now growing up is used to video games and used to sitting at home playing video games. I know when I was growing up, we was given an option to go to college or go to vocational school. I think the door needs to open back up to the same principle. I know they start them early, I believe, if I'm not badly mistaken, in 8th grade. They start them early for a goal, and either going to college or going to vocational or doing something outside of that. I think it needs to be stressed to every parent, everybody out there, that they need to understand that we need our kids to have a good goal growing up, be focused, challenged in every way they can, so that way when they do release and get above 18 and then go get a job, they'll be oriented and goal-oriented in making a future, making a home here in Monroe County.
All right, thank you. Mitch, how important is to expand education opportunities for Monroe County students in order to grow the county's industries?
Well, obviously, expansion requires a price tag, but exactly what Megan said. Being in career technical education for 20 years myself, I value how important that is. And I think that one of the things that Monroe County could certainly do is get back to Monroe County Vocational Center like we had in the past, like McMinn County still has just 10 miles down the road. And with that center, you could have wonderful internships, cooperationships, externships, and also I think that some of our teachers should have some professional development chances to go out and work in these industries, not work in them, but see them, like in their summer workshops and their summer professional development, to see what the skills are required that they need to be teaching.
Thank you. Tim, expanding education opportunities in Monroe County, how important is that to grow the county's industries?
Okay, we have been working with Cleveland State Community College, and we have donated them a building in Tellico West Center, and they are providing vocational training. And last summer, they provided a service to students. As we know, everything is going to electronics and robotics in the industries. So they selected some students from all the schools, and they brought them in the summertime when they was on summer break, and professionals taught them robotics, and they built this robot that would cross over a bridge for emergency responders, and it showed so they didn't put life in danger. They would build this robotic machine that would go over a bridge, like during an earthquake, it would be damaged and would be safe to cross. They built this robot, so educational in robotics and electronics.
Thank you. Regina Burns, expanding education opportunities in Monroe County, how important is that to grow the county's industries?
I think our youth needs they need to be motivated at a very young age, starting in middle school. And as they go through high school, I think that teachers should evaluate the motivation of the students and talk with the parents if they feel like those students need more motivation to do better in the classroom. That way they are influenced more to either choose to go to college when they graduate, or if they choose to go to more of a technical route towards ITT, because the computer industry is one of the jobs that is increasing in the next 10 years. And if they don't want to work with computers, then they can do technical programs to learn things to use in the manufacturing industries. But that's going to be a main focus on mine, to motivate our kids to do better in our county, because they are the future of Monroe County. They are our future leaders.
Okay, moving on here. We back to Mitch now. Let's talk soon to be old jail. What would your plans be ideally for the old jail once the new Justice Center opens?
Well, there's two facilities down there, Brian. There's the annex and there's the old jail. I think the old jail itself will have to be condemned, but the annex itself, I think, could be used for several different options. Probably a workhouse for our trustees, and our trustees probably would be maybe some juvenile services, but they fall under a totally different set of guidelines, very strict guidelines. But I would like to see that be a workhouse for the county.
Thank you. Mr. Yates, ideally, what's your plans for the old jail once the new Justice Center opens?
That's also my plan for the annex building. It is for a workhouse, and a workhouse would work great. The inmates get out during the day, they can keep their jobs, they can keep up their families, they can still be productive in our society, and but they report in of the evening, and a workhouse would be an ideal environment for us, and it would save jail space, and it would provide families an income and keep them up and going.
Regina Burns, what would you like to see done with the old jail once it becomes the old jail?
Currently, right now, Monroe County needs a new animal shelter, so I think that the old jail would be a great place to help remodel as money comes in to make it the new animal shelter facility for Monroe County, and that would be my main focus on what to use that for.
Megan Shaw, plans for the old jail.
I'm kind of echoing Mitch Ingram's statement. It will probably have to be condemned and tore down. I have personally seen the inside wiring. You'd have to invest quite a great deal of money into that to make a good project out of it. Keeping the annex, yes, I agree 100%. It's a newer building. with the old rescue squad building being right below it, I would like to see that whole block be turned into a parking space, parking garage, several tier parking garage for the court systems. That is a major concern and safety issue for our inmates and for the people trying to go see our inmates and loved ones and wives and husbands. And they don't have a place to park. They end up taking their kids across the highway, and they get scared sometimes because they're unsure if they're going to stop or not. So I think in the name of safety, it ought to be at least a good parking garage.
Thank you. You're listening to Monroe County Political Forum right here on Oldies 98.3 WMTY, WDEH AM 800. You can also watch a live video stream on our website, mytrueoldies.com. We're working with the Advocate Democrat newspaper tonight. And Tommy, next question there, we will start with Tim Yates.
In addition to the Justice Center opening in 2019, what other infrastructure needs should be focused on by the county in the next 5 years?
Infrastructure needs, we're looking now and coming up with a plan. We do have a 5 and 10 year plan that we're working on road development. What areas that we need TDOT to help assist the county in, Highway 68 and 411, what do we need there in the next 10 years. We're also working to develop biking and hiking lanes on our major roadways like 411 and Highway 68. That will provide a lot of opportunities for people who are in cycling, and those are some things we're doing.
Regina Burns, in your opinion, the major infrastructure needs for the county coming up in the next 5 years?
Major would be our current roads. There are some currently manufacturing plants now that I've got complaints on that have very bad roads to go to that needs fixed. And then again, the animal shelter in the next 5 years is something, we need a new one, and that would be another main focus I would focus on.
Megan Shaw, infrastructure needs for Monroe County in the next 5 years?
Would be highways, county back roads and stuff. Mr. Teague does an awesome job trying to keep up with that. If anybody knows the weather is terrible on some of the asphalt roads, they do try to keep up with that as best they can. With that being said, I'd like to see some new buildings, or maybe some updated buildings or upgraded buildings for emergency services. I know right now our EMA director is sharing a facility with our 911 director. I think he ought to have an office to himself. I know our EMS director needs an upgraded, better quality facility. I just think some roads and some new buildings would be great starting out.
Mitch Ingram, your opinion on what the greatest infrastructure needs are for Monroe County in the next 5 years?
I think there's 3 needs, actually. I think number 1, obviously, Madisonville Middle and Tellico Plains Junior High is at the forefront. Both of those schools are in very, very poor condition. Also, the gymnasium at Sweetwater High School is in disarray as well. Number 2 would be, and I consider this infrastructure, and that's continuing on the broadband internet, trying to get that expanded throughout the county as much as possible. And just like Tim said, it is a very slow process. And number 3, the property has already been purchased for the Monroe County Animal Shelter, the new facility, and I see that taking place in the next 5 years as well.
Okay, thank you. Moving on to another question. This one will start with Regina Burns on this one. What could the county do to help meet the rising need for mental health and or addiction services for the county's residents?
The county can go to the state and focus on getting state help, because a lot of these mental facilities have been closed, and we need to influence our state to get help on opening some of these back up. We also have a rehabilitation center that is being used still in Tellico, and maybe offering some type of expansion to them so that they have more room to help these people overcoming drug addictions.
Megan Shaw, what could the county do to help meet the rising need for mental health or addiction services for the county's residents?
Kind of echoing Regina's statement, seek help from the governor. I know there is a lot of help out there, money-wise, to help build facilities. They've shut down some facilities close to us. I have a good friend that has to travel almost to Memphis. His son is autistic, borderline. There's a lot of autistic children in our community, Asperger's, different mental illnesses. Try to build facilities and get them together and help the community out would be a great help for our community.
Mitch Ingram, what does the county need to do to help the rising need for mental health or addiction services?
I think I agree with the other candidates. I think it's critical, and I think probably conversation will come up in the sheriff forum as well. I think the governor is putting back in $22 million in his budget for this particular, but as we know, that's not a drop in the bucket. And there's two sets of services that this county does need. There is the disabled services like Megan spoke of with autism and that spectrum and those different disorders, but there also, we have to provide some addiction education, more halfway houses. I know there's a couple of that's up and comers in the county, Straightway Ministries and some others that are doing, just wonderful work. But we as a county need to try to supplement them all we can and provide more opportunities and just more resources, because more and more of our inmates have addiction.
Thank you. Tim Yates, what do you do about the rising need for mental health and addiction services in the county?
Well, a little over a year ago, the state cut funding on mental health, and it's really put all of our communities in dire need. So, we do have multiple facilities around the counties that helps men and women to overcome addiction, and there's some very good ones here in our county. So, I think we need to look at legislation that would prevent a doctor or a pharmacy from being able to, I know some of those things are in place now, but those need to be tighter regulations on how much drugs are given to a patient. I know it'll go through the police department, sheriff's department. There's got to be tighter monitoring on drugs coming through the mail to people's house. I know some gets multiple pills through the mails.
Okay, moving on to our next question. Tommy Millsaps of the Advocate Democrat newspaper.
We're starting, is it Regina next?
We'll start with Megan.
Megan, okay.
Yeah.
Children often complain about the lack of things to do in Monroe County for youth, which can oftentimes lead to increased drug and alcohol activities at a young age. What would you like to see happen to bring more activities for children to participate in?
I'm glad you asked, Tommy. We discussed this when I was a policeman in Tellico. They built basketball courts and stuff like that to try to help, I guess you'd call the boredom. I'd like to see some bowling alleys. Athens, Tennessee has a nice bowling alley, roller rinks, indoor skydiving, anything to help the children and the parents to get away from a while. We're going to try to start, or I'd like to try to start some new things to help parents out, especially single parents. And I'd like to try to help them kind of every now and then get away from the children. I know it kind of sounds weird, but sometimes parents want to get away and have time all to themselves and regroup. I think with different things being put in play, you can help children with bowling and roller skating and stuff. It gives parents time to breathe and gives kids time to breathe as well.
Okay, Mitch, children's activities, things to do for them in Monroe County. What do you see?
I think there's a couple things that we could do. Number one, exactly what Megan said, we have to try to recruit child-friendly businesses like bowling alleys and those type facilities to come in as a business where they run and manage it. Secondly, I've had over the last several months, you wouldn't believe the amount of people that's come up and asked me about a YMCA in Monroe County. Now, I don't know what the feasibility is of that, and I've been investigating that, but certainly we need a community center or an exhibition center or something where we could provide these basketball courts and racquetball courts, and there's no large Olympic-sized swimming pool anymore in Monroe County. And we need those type things, and a community center of some type would be great. And the Boys and Girls Club and some of these other programs do really, really well, but certainly we can do something to help add to that as well.
Thank you. Tim Yates, children's activities in Monroe County. What needs to happen there?
we would support anything, any of our citizens or people who would like to build things for our county. But with the debt that a county is facing, you know, we've got 3 schools. We need at least $60 million to build schools. We need infrastructure. We need jobs. Those things have to take top priority. But with helping our kids, I wish that there would be some, you know, we have researched YMCA's. 99% of YMCA's are from nonprofits, privately owned, because governments simply cannot afford them. I think baseball tournaments, Sweetwater does a real good job here in the city to promote baseball tournaments. I think if Madisonville and Tellico would do that and focus on a big tournament like Sweetwater does, it brings in a lot of revenue. Also, Monroe County area, for the arts, MACA, they do a good job to promote our talent here in the county.
Regina Burns, Children's Activities in Monroe County, what needs to happen there?
I agree with Yates here about the sports tournaments. Sweetwater is very big, with me living in Sweetwater, with all different type of sports, and it would be good if Tellico and Madisonville could maybe implement more fields and stuff to get kids to do that more. I wish we could put in a bowling alley or something here, but as you know, years ago Athens tried putting in a new bowling alley and it closed down. It didn't have enough people to want to come to it, and I do not think Monroe County is big enough to have a business like that. But I do think it would be good if schools or even churches offered weekly events for students. They could sign up in the schools in the summer. This weekend we're going to the movies, and possibly take a bus or van to take kids to movies every weekend, or ice skating, or different events.
Thank you. And here coming up is the final question before we get to closing remarks. And it's a little bit different question. Come political season, this is off the cuff for me here. Normally this time of year you hear what needs to improve about the county. I want to hear from you, what is this county doing right? And I'm not asking you to brag on any office holders or anything. I just want you to brag on Monroe County. What's Monroe County doing right? Mitch Ingram, I'll start with you.
Okay, thank you. I believe Monroe County is doing several things right. But the one that I think that I'm going to focus on the most, I think our teachers are giving their heart and soul each and every day in Monroe County. I think they're doing it right inside and outside the classroom, both from their heart and their own pocketbook. So it would be our teachers is what's doing it right in Monroe County.
Thank you. Tim?
I think our friendly people is a big plus for Monroe County. People are still courteous here in our small community, and you know, it's good to have good close fellowship and friendship. Our people, a plus for Monroe County is a good thing is we are hard workers. So, you know, I think that is big in our industry. We have people that show up to work, and they work a lot of overtime hours. Our people are very hard workers. And most of all, our county is Christian oriented. And I think the Christian base and the prayers of the people is what keeps Monroe County strong and a good place to live. I wouldn't want to live anywhere else. Monroe County is getting it right.
Regina, what is Monroe County doing right?
Monroe County, everybody that is very friendly here. You don't hear on the news as much as school violence and everything here, because everybody here has more ethics. Everybody here gets along, and that is the best thing that I think the county does on getting people wanting to stay here and live here, and even people that comes out of state. They choose to live here, and they absolutely love it because we are friendlier than any other state.
Thank you. Megan Shaw, what's Monroe County doing right?
I think churches and the teachers are definitely putting forward a great effort. Kind of echoing Tim, prayers is a wonderful thing. Religion is too. I believe in it. I'm a Christian. Our teachers, my wife's substitute, and our teachers do go through a lot of different stuff, especially for the needs of our children. I think they go above and beyond. Second, I'd have to say our emergency services. They're super bunch, from fire, rescue, EMS, EMA, It's awesome. 911. If y'all ever listen to the scanner, you would see. I encourage you to go by and spend a little time with them. It's awesome to sit and watch them work. I mean, it's amazing. See everybody getting along, like I said, or churches or school or emergency services. I want to give a shout out also to our hospital. They don't get enough encouragement. They do.
Thank you. All right, that's going to wrap up the questioning in our Monroe County Mayoral Forum. I'll give each candidate 90 seconds for closing remarks, and we'll start with Tim Yates. 90 seconds.
Folks, when I came into office, there was a lot of changes we had to make. We changed the way we financed our debt. We refinanced old loans with lower interest rates. By upgrading the bond rating, we have Monroe County in the best position it's ever been. Recruiting new industry is very competitive. We are competing every day with the large cities all across the United States. Most of them today are not only giving away land and tax abatements, but are also giving them large amounts of startup funds. We simply cannot do that. We're working with big companies now who are interested in Monroe County, and we're trying to get them here. As I said earlier, talking with professionals across the state, they will tell you 80% of job growth comes through expansions. They say the number one thing to work on is retention. Keep what industry you have, and number two, support the industries to expand, and we aggressively are working to do so. I want to thank our commissioners who have made it possible for us to accomplish the things we have over the past 4 years. We have added 1,600 new jobs. I'd like to ask the people to choose experience and not promise or the unseen. The other candidates, some of them had masters. I don't have a master's, but I know the master, and he helps me in daily work. Thank you.
Thank you. Regina Burns, closing remarks, 90 seconds.
If I am elected mayor, I plan to reduce unnecessary spending in the county with anything with overtime, travel time, county cars, and gas. I plan to make our county a safer place in our school systems. I plan to help increase our younger generations with better motivations for the future, for college enrollment, or if they choose to go more technical. I plan to make sure that we have no type of bullying in our school systems, that we don't ever see on the news that Monroe County had a student to commit suicide because of that. And I plan on bringing more businesses, more restaurants, and anything to our county the best way possible.
Thank you. Megan Shaw, 90 seconds, closing remarks.
If I'm elected mayor, I'm planning on restructuring or consolidate some jobs in mayor's office. I'd like to reduce or abolish or reconstruct the wheel tax. I know wheel tax is not a very popular item to discuss. Years ago, growing up in this county, we was promised no more taxes, but all of a sudden we got wheel tax, which does not cover everybody in the county. I definitely like to change how that's put forth to our county commission and stuff, and get together. Have some great ideas on county commission meeting at least twice a month. I know that probably won't be a popular idea, but rehab mental facilities, I'd like to definitely help our schools out. There's several schools that need to be attended to. And look to see if we can help either restructure or try to actually build new schools. Remember, the May the 1st is early voting. And remember me, I'm Megan Shaw, and if you want to change, I'll be the one for the positive change. Thank you.
Mitch Ingram, 90 seconds, closing remarks.
Today is March 20th, the first day of spring. And typically, spring is the first sign of new growth each year. And that's what I intend to help Monroe County do, is grow. Grow through jobs, industry, education, emergency services. Just today, the new numbers were released. Our unemployment rate went from 3.3% to 4%. And certainly, we want to provide every amount of education, and every city, county taxpayer be good stewards of their money, day in and day out. It's your money, not ours. I cherish your vote, April 11th and May 1st. Thank you very much.
That's going to do it for our Monroe County Mayoral Forum. I want to thank the candidates tonight, Mitch Ingram, Tim Yates, Regina Burns, and Megan Shaw. Again, early voting starts April the 11th, the primary May 1st. Please get out and vote. Again, thank you for the candidates. Very good tonight. Right now, we are going to take a 6 or 7 minute intermission, and we will change out mayor candidates for sheriff candidates. As we go to this commercial break, be sure you pay attention to these commercials. We thank all of our sponsors who have made this forum possible tonight. We also thank the Advocate Democrat newspaper. As you're listening to Monroe County political forum right here on Oldies 98.3 WMTY, WDEH AM 800. You can also watch it live on our website, mytrueoldies.com. We're going to step away, 6 or 7 minute intermission, and be back with the sheriff candidates. Thank you for listening and watching.
Century 21 Howe Realty and Auction in Sweetwater is a full-service real estate company. They have 32 agents ready to give you personalized assistance in the purchase of your dream home, or if you need to sell your current one. If you're in need of an auctioneer for the sale of land, homes, commercial equipment, machinery, and more, call Cowboy Jimmy, Danny, Jim, Bryant, or Bill at Century 21 Howe Realty and Auction today and let them work for you. Call 423-337-9355. That's 423-337-9355, or visit them online at c21howe.com. That's the letter C, 21HOWE.com.
Hi, this is Jim Fairweather. I'm the owner and founder of Fairweather Financial right here in Monroe County. The financial services industry is constantly in motion. One day your advisor is here, the next day somewhere else. If your financial advisor has recently changed companies, retired, or just left the business, I invite you to let Fairweather Financial have an opportunity to earn your trust. As an independent wealth manager, I don't have any quotas to meet, nor sales contests to compete in. I work for only you, my valued client. I invite you today to give us a call at 423-337-6565 or check us out on the web. Just Google Fairweather Financial or like our Facebook page. We would love to have the opportunity to earn your business.
Securities offered through LPL Financial, member FINRA, SIPC.
Little Drugs Family Wellness Center is celebrating 60 years of serving this community. As part of the celebration, Little's is having a prize drawing every month in 2018. To register for the drawings, stop by the store on Main Street in Sweetwater. Little Drugs Family Wellness Center is your hometown drugstore. They offer compounding, compliance packaging, and 24-hour emergency service. They're open Monday through Friday, 8 to 6, and Saturday, 9 to 1. Call them today at 423-337-7933 or visit online at littledrugs.com.
Hey folks, want to tell you about a new business neighbor, Turner Automotive, a complete automotive repair facility servicing foreign and domestic vehicles. If your needs are of welding and fabrication, they can provide you fabrication and modifications to meet your needs. They feature Sunoco racing fuels, whether it's drag racing, dirt track, or off-road. They've got the fuels to meet your needs. That's Turner Automotive, a complete automotive repair facility located at 2522 Highway 411 South, Madisonville. Give them a call at 423-420-0212 or visit them on the web, turner-auto.com.
Buying your first home is a very special and exciting experience. Becoming a homeowner is all part of the American dream. Volunteer Federal Branch Manager Addie Cook at 906 New Highway 68 in Sweetwater can help turn your new home dream into reality. Volunteer Federal is Monroe County's oldest mortgage lender. They're the mortgage experts, local folks you can depend on and trust. Phone 337-9326. Volunteer Federal, member FDIC, and equal housing lender.
The Monroe County Advocate and Democrat newspaper is your best source for local news. We're a Tennessee Press Association award-winning newspaper bringing you the latest local news and sports, along with Associated Press stories from around the globe. More than a newspaper, we're a proud part of your community. Call 337-7101 to subscribe today. The Advocate and Democrat newspaper, Monroe County's fair and accurate news source.
Buying your first home is a very special and exciting experience. Becoming a homeowner is all part of the American dream. Volunteer Federal Loan Officer Tamarin Crowder at the Sweetwater branch on the Sweetwater-Vonore Road can help turn your new home dream into reality. Volunteer Federal is Monroe County's oldest mortgage lender. They're the mortgage experts, local folks you can depend on and trust. Phone 337-3737. Volunteer Federal, member FDIC, and equal housing lender.
It's time for a Monroe County Political Forum, presented by Oldies 98.3 WMTY and the Advocate and Democrat newspaper. Tonight's forum is brought to you in part by Century 21 Howell Realty and Auction, Fairweather Financial, Little Drugs Family Wellness Center, Turner Automotive, and Volunteer Federal Bank. Now let's go live inside the studios of WMTY. Here's Tommy Millsaps and Brian Birchfield.
Good evening. We are back. We appreciate once again our mayor candidates for the forum that just finished up, and now we're moving on to Monroe County Sheriff candidates, and we thank each of them for being here tonight. I'm Brian Birch along with Tommy Millsaps, the Advocate Democrat newspaper, the radio station, and the paper working together tonight. Sheriff candidates, we thank you for being here tonight. And I want to start by introducing, now again, they drew numbers, and let's go over the rules one more time for folks just tuning in. The candidates drew numbers. The number they drew depended on, decided what seat they would sit in, if I could spit it out here, and that will determine what order they answer the questions in. Every candidate will answer every question. They'll have 2 minutes for opening remarks in just a minute, then 60 seconds to answer each question, and then 90 seconds for closing remarks. Jessica is our timekeeper. When she holds her hand up, they will have 10 seconds, guys, left in your time. When time's up, she's going to ring the bell, and I will cut you off at that point. Everybody good with that?
Yes.
We're ready to go here. Let's introduce our candidates, starting here first, the Democrat Bill Bivens, and then the Republican Tommy Jones, the incumbent, then Republican Randy White, and then Democrat Patrick Upton at the other end. We'll start right here with the number 1 seat, Bill Bivens. Opening remarks. Go ahead, sir.
Thank you all for having us this evening. My name is Bill Bivens. I've been married for 42 years to my wife, Cheryl. We have 2 biological children, 3 grandchildren, and we also care for foster children. We've had some 70 plus foster children. Before being elected as sheriff of Monroe County back in 2006, I served here as a patrolman, the interim police chief at Tellico Plains, and I also served as a Monroe County commissioner. I've been a business owner in Monroe County, small business owner, for the past 37 years. My wife and I have, fostered over 70 children, providing a chance for them a good future. Our 2 biological children and 3 grandchildren, as I mentioned below, a while ago. I have Tennessee Sheriff's training as well. My education major in school was business. I've worked patrol, supervised patrol officers, detectives, drug officers, and had worked with jail issues, jail budgets, and sheriff department budget. I've worked firsthand with the problems of the citizens of Monroe County. I'm capable of a preparation of an annual budget, and working within that budget, saving the county money. I feel like I've have the experience and the ability to do it. Many programs were implemented while I was had the opportunity of serving as sheriff. I was among them a countywide burglary task force, includes municipalities, neighborhood watch program, drug interdiction, elder watch, church watch, drug awareness programs in our schools and communities, Team Dad, GED program at the jail.
Thank you, Mr. Bivens. Moving on, Tommy Jones, opening remarks.
Good evening. Thank you, Brian. Thank you, Tommy, for having us tonight. I'm the Monroe County Sheriff, Tommy Jones. A little bit about myself. I've been married to my high school sweetheart now for 18 years. Her name's Gina. We have a 9-year-old son named Chandler. I started working at the Monroe County Sheriff's Office in 1999 to 2010 to 14 at the Sweetwater Police Department, and back at 2014 as the Chief Deputy. A little bit about myself. When I started at the Sheriff's Office in '99, I started as a part-time corrections officer, working my way up through the rank to a patrol deputy, to a sergeant, into narcotics and canine, later finding myself to be chief and then the sheriff. I've attended several schools over throughout my career, not to mention all of them, but the FBI T-Lead School, the New Sheriff School, the National Criminal Enforcement Association, U.S. Department of Justice, Meth Awareness, U.S. Department of Transportation Commercial Vehicle Interdiction Programs, the Team and National Response Framework, and there's many more. Again, thank you guys for having us tonight.
Thank you, and just a quick reminder, be sure you guys get in close on those microphones, about 6 inches, that way we can hear you really good. Randy White, opening remarks.
Yes, my name is Randy White, running for the office of sheriff. Had an opportunity to serve as your sheriff for 6 weeks in 2014 before assuming the office of chief deputy. As your sheriff, if elected in 2018, some of the things I think we need to be looking at in our county is the drug and opioid addiction that we have. Statistics show across the nation that we have 1 death related to drug-induced every 19 minutes. East Tennessee is number 1 in the state of Tennessee, as well Tennessee is number 2 in the nation for opioid abuse. We have a major problem we've got to deal with. I think traditional law enforcement has showed that continuing just to put these people in jail over and over again is not the answer. We're going to have to think outside the box and find new ways of dealing with this situation, because we're losing lives daily. The other thing that I think we need to be looking at is our school safety. I think we need to partner with our schools and our school system, with our teachers and our parents, to look at better ways to make sure we keep our kids safe. Our goal is to make sure that every kid returns home safely as they left in the morning. No kid should ever have to fear going to school and being injured. As an administrator over the years, we're looking at building actually in the process of building a new justice center. Going into that facility is going to be a big challenge for the sheriff coming up in 2019. I believe we need someone there who has proven as leadership and ability to take on that task. As your director at Animal Service in 2010 to 2014, I believe I proved myself as a leader and as an administrator. We took a service that was failing and losing about $250,000 a year to a service that was, at the end of my tenure, went into the positive about $300,000. So I know how to be an administrator and to be a leader. Thank you.
Thank you. Patrick Upton, opening remarks.
Thanks for having me. I'm Patrick Upton. I've lived in Sweetwater most of my life, and I'm married to Lisa Upton. We have 5 children, 3 grandchildren. I started out in law enforcement in 1986 in Sweetwater. I have no break-in service, and I've been a certified officer since 1987. During my career, I've made several homicide arrests and prosecutions, countless drug arrests. I have conducted and supervised several sting operations, and I have prosecuted on local, state, and federal levels. I have attended over 70 specialized schools and training, including the National Forensic Academy. The reason I'm running for sheriff is that this county needs change, real change. We need to change because of the constant petty politics, bickering, unjust firings, lawsuits, vote buying, nepotism, and good old boy networks. This county is losing money because of all these things, and we are in chaos. The employees at the sheriff's office are constantly having to look out for their jobs and watch out for someone coming in and taking their job just because of politics, period. We also need to get a hold on the theft and burglary cases that are overwhelming. Current drug trends suggest that we must combat drug trafficking more than ever and try to give the ones that are needing help to help themselves and give them that opportunity. We also need to give the ones that are repeat offenders real jail time and pursue federal indictments. This time, please look at the most qualified person to be elected sheriff. I am the most qualified candidate to run for office of sheriff because I have the experience that comes with 31 years of hard police work. With the situation with the schools and violent crimes, please ask yourself, do I want a career politician or a career cop to run the sheriff's office? Thank you.
Thank you. You're listening to Monroe County Sheriff Forum here on the radio, and you can also watch it right now, live video on mytrueoldies.com. We thank all the sheriff candidates for being here. Let's get into the questions. This question will start with Tommy Jones and Tommy Millsaps with a question.
What do you see as the biggest law enforcement issue in Monroe County, and how will you work to change this?
Like I've said, every one of these guys I think is saying, Randy hit on in his opening remarks, the drug problems, the opiate addictions. I was reading an article yesterday, 30% increase in 2017. There were 64,000 overdose deaths in the United States. It's not only a problem here in Monroe County, it's a problem across the nation. We've worked very hard over the past 3.5 years or so to try to get a handle on this. A lot of it's going to have to do with federal and state government. There's going to have to be more funding put in mental health services. There's going to have to be more funding put into drug treatment. We arrest the same people over and over and over. As Patrick said in his opening statement, the sentencing. Now, we need more and stricter sentencing. Repeat offenders need to go to jail. They need to go to jail longer. People who are arrested for...
Thank you. Randy.
Yes, well, like I stated earlier, the biggest thing I think we're facing right now is the opioid addiction and the drug abuse here in our community. I think education is going to be a big part of that, educating our community and our kids at a younger age. We need to get some kind of a program into the schools, educate these kids about the drugs and the effects of the drugs on our community. Like I said, we're going to have to look outside the box. I believe that just law enforcement in general itself is not the answer. These people are repeat offenders, arrested multiple times. They become a costly burden to the taxpayers. So over and over, if we can keep 32 of these folks out of jail for a term of 4 years, which is a term of a sheriff, we can save $1.8 million in taxpayer money. That's a lot of money to save on 32 people. And we can do that while we got them in jail, if we get them in some type of treatment program and help them to teach them life skills and show them there's a better way of life than what they've known. I think that's the answer for it today.
Patrick Upton?
Yes, I agree with them. There's actually two things, drugs and thefts, and they kind of go hand in hand. Drugs, the opioid, the meth, it's just unbelievable. So we're going to have to educate. We're going to have to give people that want help. We need to give them help. Flip side of that coin, we've got people that's making big money and sitting back and just, maybe even a doctor or two. I'm not saying any doctors in this county, but we've got to concentrate on the people that don't want to help themselves, that wants to keep selling this. We need to take them federal. We need to start at the smallest dealer and work our way up. It's okay to get a gram or two off for somebody. That's part of it. But we've got to start concentrating on these bigger dealers. Also, burglaries and thefts is a big problem. In 2016, the Tigers report 689 burglaries and thefts in this county. We've got to do something to stop it.
Bill Bivens, what do you see as the biggest law enforcement issue in Monroe County, and how will you change this?
I'll pretty much have to echo exactly what each one of these other candidates have said. The opioid prescription drug problem is across the whole nation. We've seen it for many years. Methamphetamine, now it's prescription drugs. We've got to work hard to get our legislators to start looking at more mental health help for some of these folks. Some of them probably, if they had the help, quite possibly wouldn't be the crimes that we've got. The dealers, we need to focus primarily on dealers, somebody that's selling this stuff and causing the big problem. I think we got to get tighter sentences, harder sentences for them. Our legislators need to step up to the plate and help us. I've worked this for 8 years with the methamphetamine problem, and we couldn't get any help when we went in front of the state legislature. We must do something different to offset this problem. It's a problem all over the nation.
I'm going to ask a follow-up to that. All of you all mentioned opioids. So I want you to tell me, let's say we have a magic wand, and tomorrow you could do anything you want to, that one thing that you think is going to make a huge difference, the problem in our system to fix this opioid problem, what would it be specifically? And we'll start with Randy White.
I think if we get some kind of legislature on the amount of medications that can be distributed through doctors, that's a big thing, because the biggest part we're seeing now is prescription pill abuse. A lot of people are getting these pills, going to pain clinics and what have you, and they're selling them to the public. There are people here traveling to Florida to pain clinics. We're going to have to do something to get a tighter grip on how those pills are being distributed and how they go out of those clinics.
Thank you. Patrick Upton, you've got a magic wand. What's that one thing that you would do to fix this opioid issue?
I agree with Randy. If we had the magic wand, we would have better treatment. We would have a system where doctors would be a little more careful and have a better system of, regulating some of the opioids that's given out. One thing Randy hit on about Florida, used to be everybody would get a van full of people, and they'd go down to Florida, and they actually had a portable MRI there on a tractor trailer. You could go in there, get your MRI, go down to the doctor. He's going to write your script. You go to the local drugstore. I'm talking about 4 or 5 people at a time. And then they come back to Monroe County, wherever. All 4 or 5 of them has prescriptions, and they come back and sell them. But now it happens here, so they don't have to go to Florida.
Thank you. Bill Bivens, that one thing specifically you would do if you could to fix this opioid problem?
Well, we need to make our doctors more accountable. Legislators need to step up to the plate. I think they've been slacking for a long time. I dealt with problems like this while I was sheriff and went to Nashville and lobbied. Our legislators could do a whole lot, and I think we, as a citizen, should contact our legislators, talk to them, let them know the problems that we have. I wish that everybody listening tonight and all over the county would step up, write a letter, make a phone call, talk to the legislators. Legislation is what it's going to take, and they need to step up. These prescription drugs are sold by big companies, and they lobby. That's what they did when I went to Nashville. They lobbied against stopping the pseudoephedrine from being sold, just outright. We tried to make it a prescription drug. I think legislation is the answer.
Thank you. You're listening. Tommy, I'm sorry. Go ahead. Tommy, your magic wand, you've got it. What's the one thing you're going to do to fix this opioid problem?
I have to agree with these other 3 men. One thing is non-addictive medications. We live in a very advanced country. Technology's great, medication's great. There's no reason that these chemists cannot come up with some non-addictive medication that doctors can prescribe for pain instead of all the painkillers they're prescribing. Locally, we need a drug court. That's something Monroe County doesn't have. Bradley County, other counties have it. We need a drug court implemented here in Monroe County. Need more education in the jails and into the schools. And the state needs a Christian-based rehab center for the ones that are addicts. And as I said earlier, we need stricter and more jail time for the dealers.
Thank you. You're listening to Monroe County Political Forum tonight. We are here with the candidates for Monroe County Sheriff, and you can watch live video on mytrueoldies.com. Of course, listen on the radio, both of our stations, WMTY and WDEH. We're working in conjunction with the Advocate and Democrat newspaper, and Tommy Millsaps of the paper. Question number 3, start with Patrick Upton.
Patrick, how do you feel about using trustees, prisoners at festivals and other events where there are large numbers of community members present?
I don't like it at all. I do think that the trustees do a good job around surrounding cities and towns on some projects, and I think it saves some of the towns a lot of money. But I do think that, because I've seen it myself, when they're out at these ball games and other functions, it would be okay if they was regulated and actually watched. But when they're out in the stands watching the ball game or sitting at the fence and just lollygagging around, I do not agree with that. It sends a bad message to our young people that, hey, if I go to jail, I can come watch the ball game. I just don't like it. It's nothing against them trying to work. I think it's great that they want to get out and work. But we need to regulate that a little bit better than it's been regulated. It's gotten out of control a little.
Bill Bivens, your thoughts on using prisoners at festivals and things to work?
At festivals, they definitely need to be more supervision, I feel like. During those times, they could be handed off drugs and different things could occur. Most cases, while I was sheriff, and any of them that did that, they worked at festivals and stuff. Their backgrounds were really scrutinized and made certain that they were not sex offenders, not anybody that might do something way out of line. They were more minor offense type people. So you got to make sure that if you're going to use them for those purposes, that they do have enough of a background that's not bad to where they would be a danger to society or the people that were there, children and what have you.
Thank you. Tommy Jones, your thoughts on using prisoners in large community events?
Well, as you can see, we do it. We allow trustees to go out now and clean up trash, pick up debris, do what they need to do. I support it. I feel like the more people we have out working, the better it is for our community, for our jail. Like Bill said, through classification, we look at their charges. We make sure they're not sex offenders or anyone violent that's going to be a danger to the public. No one up here is going to allow that to happen. As far as them working, and anyone that's worked at the jail or in the jail will tell you, the men and women that goes out and work daily, when they come in, they eat supper, take a shower, and they go to bed. They don't cause as many problems inside the jail as those that just lay around, eat, and sleep all day. I guess we have one of the largest trustees groups that in the past few sheriffs, and I feel like it's a good thing. Saves the county and the cities a whole lot of money.
Thank you. Randy White, your thoughts on using prisoners in community environments, out in festivals and such?
Well, I think it can be a benefit to everyone involved if it's used and structured properly. This has been said here previously, we have to be very choosy about who we allow to go out and when to go. I think the event that we need to look at and make sure that we can provide the right amount of security and supervision for these prisoners when they're there. I think they're a good thing to help save a lot of money in our community and save a lot of taxpayers' money. But I think there are some events to where, depending on what the event is, they may not be able to go work. And some other, we just have, like I say, look at those on the individual basis.
Thank you. I want to thank our Monroe County Sheriff candidates for being here tonight. Democrat Bill Bivens, Republican Tommy Jones, the incumbent, Republican Randy White, and Democrat Patrick Upton. Guys, thank you for being here once again. Our next question, and we will start back here with Bill Bivens on this question. We've already addressed the opioid and drug issue. We know that's a top priority. So other than that, if elected, what are your top 3 priorities as sheriff? Bill, we'll start with you.
Well, I think certainly in hearing about the school shootings and stuff that we're hearing about right now, probably one of the main focuses. I feel like we got to be trained, have all the personnel trained and capable of going in and taking care of the problem right away. You've got to eliminate that problem. It has to happen. It has to happen quick. We need to be doing more preparedness like that. We continue to see it, and we see copycats a lot of times. The children see something like this happening. Of course, burglaries are a #1 thing as well. We're having a real rise, as the way I understand it, in burglaries, along with the drug problem. They work together, so we're constantly fighting that. The new jail and being able to administer it as it needs to be. We've got a lot going on with that new jail. It's going to take some a lot of time in getting things right.
Thank you, Bill. Tommy Jones, other than the drug issue that we've already touched on as being a top priority, what are the next 3 priorities if reelected?
The school safety, the drug court, and a burglary task force. That's something that myself and the local chiefs met about several times. I'm going to go backwards with this with the burglary task force. It's something that Sheriff Bivens had in place when he was sheriff, and it was successful. It's something we need back in place. And we've now got to the point where we can do something and get that back going. You've seen we've already increased staff at the schools with all the shootings and stuff that's occurring across the nation. Director Tim Blankenship has requested 5 more full-time SROs. The school board has approved that. So our next step is to get the county commission to fund those. That's something that we're working on, and it's going to take a little time, but I think we'll have that. And drug court is something also I mentioned earlier the Bradley County area has, but we do need here also.
Thank you. Randy White, other than the drug issue, top 3 priorities if elected.
Yes. School safety is definitely number 1. Making sure that we can partner with our school system, our teachers, and our parents, making sure our kids do stay safe, making sure the policy procedures are in place, are followed, and making sure that people are held accountable to make sure those policies are followed. That's a big thing. Burglaries, drugs, thefts in the community. Like I say, those all come off the back of our drug problem. Making sure those crimes get solved and doing the best job we can do to making sure people's property are returned to them in a timely fashion. The other thing is, I believe, is education. I think we have to educate our community on what the sheriff's department does, on what our job is, and on the issues that we have in the community. Because it's not something I believe that it's solely the sheriff or the sheriff's department's problem. It's a community issue. And I believe until we let the people come together and work on it, it's never going to get solved.
Thank you. Patrick Upton, other than the drug issue we've touched on, what are the top 3 priorities for you if elected sheriff?
Yeah, so other than drugs, school safety, definitely number 1. These kids have a right to go to school and be safe. And they need to feel safe. When the kid asks you, hey, am I safe to go to school? Let me tell you, it really makes me angry that we even have to answer that question these days. But we're going to make sure these schools are safe. We're going to do new door locks, a new computer program that works with what I'm trying to say is work with camera equipment, new cameras that just goes to the sheriff's office computers. Second, burglaries, and third, employees. Burglaries are out of hand. We've got just several burglaries all throughout the county and thefts. It's went up since 2014. As far as employees, I consider it number 3 because employees in this county needs protection. They need some kind of protection. Right now, they're just being fired for no reason.
Thank you. All right, moving on to the next question. Tommy Millsaps, if you don't care to ask that for us.
I think we're with Tommy Jones next. Yeah. Do you plan on making any staff changes if elected, or in your case, re-elected?
Well, as you know, I'm holding 2 chief positions open, the chief deputy and the jail administrator. Other than putting someone in those 2 spots, no, I do not.
Let me ask a little follow-up to that since you're the incumbent. Tell us how you evaluate your current employees?
The current employees, all the deputies have body cams. They have in-car cameras. We sit and watch them on their cameras, on the recording, see how they interact with the public, the reports that they make. The supervisors review all of those. We just basically do the assessments based off those things. If we see an employee that's having problems in one area, you try to counsel them, get them in line where they need to be. It may be you have to change that position, demote, promote, or terminate. That's based off of their performance. It's based off of their conduct and how they treat the public.
Thank you. Now moving on. Randy White, if elected, do you plan to make any staff changes And also, how do you evaluate people working under you?
No, staff changes. No, I don't look back at any staff changes. Like I say, everyone will be evaluated. We keep talking about firing people. I've never fired anybody. People fire themselves. We have to be held to a standard, and people have to be held accountable for what they do. And just like me, if I'm elected and I don't do my job, the people in this county they're going to vote somebody else in that office, and they expect us to hold our people accountable and hold them to a standard. As far as evaluations go, that thing is done daily. About interaction with the other employees, how they interact with the public, how they present their cases in court, how well they work alone. Because most of these guys, you have to be a self-motivated to be a police officer, especially a detective or a narcotics officer. They don't have somebody out there breathing down their neck. They have to be self-motivated to go get it. And if they don't, then that's something we have to look at. If the cases aren't being made, then we have to make a change.
Thank you. Patrick Upton, if elected, do you plan on making any staff changes? And also tell us about your evaluation process of people working under you.
No, I don't have any plans of making any staff changes, but I will also say, if we all going to sit up here and say that there's not going to be any firing, don't kid yourself. It's done happened. These guys need some protection from being fired just for no reason. I'm going to evaluate the employees. If they don't do their job, and we got, like Randy said, we'll do it daily. If they don't do their job, they're not going to work for me, because we're going to work hard. I demand our officers to respect people, do their job daily, not be out here mistreating people or anything like that. But every time we have one of these, we all sit up here and everybody say we're not going to fire, we're going to be. That's not true. There's people fired left and right, and everybody sitting in here knows it.
Thank you. Bill Bivens, if elected, do you plan to make any staff changes? And tell us about your evaluation process for people working for you.
Of course, there's going to be a chief deputy and chief jail administrators hired, certainly, as far as staff changes. You've got to have those on your side, working with you. Supervisors was my main source of how my employees were working. Also, I watched the supervisors to make certain, your chief deputy watches your supervisors. You evaluate through that, and complaints. If you had citizens' complaints, that's another method of whether or not an officer. But you looked at it. You didn't just take a citizen complaint and say that the officer was doing wrong. You had to look at both sides, and sometimes you had to bring them in, talk with them, and find out what the problem was and see if the officer was in the wrong. Of course, evaluation is primarily the way we'll decide on who's in what position and who stays and who ultimately goes, I guess. I don't intend to just fire everybody. No intention at all of mine.
Thank you. You're listening to Monroe County Political Forum tonight. We have the candidates for Monroe County Sheriff, had the county mayor candidates earlier, right here on Oldies 98.3 WMTY, WDEH AM 800. You can also watch live video of it right now on our website, mytrueoldies.com. It's right there on our homepage. We appreciate those of you watching and tuning in tonight. We appreciate the Advocate and Democrat working with us tonight. The next question is going to go to Randy White as we continue our order here. Obviously, all of you guys here tonight think you're the guy. You're the best guy for the job. So here's the opportunity for you to tell me and everybody watching and listening, why are you the best guy for the job? Randy White.
Yes, well, everybody here has law enforcement experience. We're all running for the office of sheriff. And as everyone knows, that is an administrative position. And as administrator, I believe I have the experience and ability and the knowledge to run the sheriff's department, especially with the new Justice Center opening up in September of 2019. I have been point man for the Sheriff's Department on that project since 2014, and also for the Mayor's office on the transition team up until October of this past year when I was terminated from the Sheriff's Department. So I know everything there is pretty much about that project and how it's going to roll and the transition of it. I believe going into that's going to be a big obstacle for somebody who doesn't know anything about it. It's going to be a hard transition.
Patrick Upton, why are you the guy for the job?
Well, I think if you're going to be sheriff, the number one thing you need to know is law enforcement. And I know that better than anybody in this room. I'm more qualified than the other candidates. The thing about me, I'm fair. I'm fair to everybody. No matter where you're from, who you are, I'm fair. Law enforcement needs to be, in this county, needs to stop being a job for a politician, and it needs to be a job for a cop. The people that works for the sheriff's office, the sheriff needs to have more experience than the people that work for him, not the other way around. These days and times, the sheriff has to be ready for any situation, hostage negotiation, anything. I bring to the table somebody that has done pretty much all of it. I've worked with the FBI. I did hostage negotiations. And that's what's needed in the sheriff's department right now is a cop.
Thank you. Bill Bivens, why are you the man to be sheriff of Monroe County?
Many things happened during the time I was sheriff for 8 years. We had some disasters that come, tornadoes, different things that happened. We came together, we worked with other departments together. I've introduced many programs, Burglary Task Force, Neighborhood Watch program, interdiction program that's on the interstate right now that pays for the drug program. I've looked at funding, making certain that we weren't a big burden on the county other than what it's going to be, naturally going to be. It's not a fee office. But I'm capable of doing that. I've not only implemented the programs, we actually carried them out. The things that we worked hard at to make certain that burglaries were stopped as much as possible, the drugs. We had an epidemic of methamphetamine during when I first took over. I've had many things thrown at me, and I think we've done well as sheriff.
Thank you. Tommy Jones, why are you the best man for the job?
Well, I hope over the past few years I've proven it by actions, by the direction the sheriff's office has went in. As everyone knows, I came in as chief deputy in 2014 after a bad election. Everything got overturned. I found myself being the interim sheriff, going from being interim sheriff to appointed sheriff to elected sheriff in 2016. It's hard to grow. It's hard to have a stable department with all those things going on. But with all those things going on within the sheriff's office and around the sheriff's office, we've still been able to grow the department with more full-time employees, been able to turn in over $1.5 million back into the fund balance from our budgets each year. Like Randy said, we're in the middle of a construction of a $29 million justice center. Other than us two, no one here has the knowledge that we have surrounding that justice center.
Thank you. We'll now move on to our next question, and Tommy Millsaps of the Advocate Democrat newspaper will pose this question, starting with Patrick Upton.
Some of you touched on this a little bit a while ago, but what would you do specifically to increase school safety in Monroe County in light of recent school shootings across the country?
Well, there's several things. I think it starts at home, number one. Number two, we're going to have a better understanding with mental health. Teachers, even students, law enforcement officers, we're going to have another understanding of people that has mental health. Now, there's evil people out there, don't get me wrong, but we're going to have better cooperation with all of us. We're going to have metal detectors. We're going to have special door locks that has remote controls, open and close the door locks. We're going to have better video systems as far as outside the schools and inside that feeds to the sheriff's office. We're going to have hotlines that goes directly to the sheriff's office so people can report if somebody's having a problem. The biggest thing is most of these school shootings, they have told somebody before they did them, and they was never reported. So we've got to get the education back in there, and then we've got to get people involved.
Bill Bivens.
I would echo the same thing for the door locks, the electric locks, the metal detectors, cameras, and all that. But I think it goes back also to the awareness, and I hope that our schools or different Our SROs are being trained to make certain that they are watching out for that. School bullying is one of the things that a lot of times leads to these shooters and stuff, grudges and stuff. They get mad at one another, and one decides he's going to do this or he's going to do that. It's very unfortunate, but we need to be keen-eyed with that, teachers as well. And I think, and surely, that's being looked at or being implemented right now.
Thank you. Tommy Jones, your plan to increase school safety in Monroe County.
As I said earlier, the school system's already approved 5 additional SROs pending county commission approval. We'll have those in place. Myself and the captain of the SROs, Rusty Vineyard, we've already done assessments of every school. Our recommendation to the school board, and they're seeking funding for this right now, is to change out the locks, camera systems. Those are the biggest things. You know, keep the school safe, you got to lock it down. The link's already done between the sheriff's office and the dispatch center as far as we have live views now inside the schools. Those things were done a few weeks ago. I think this is nothing a sheriff can do, none of us sitting here can do, but I think the schools need to put a mental health counselor in each school. Like Patrick was saying, most of this, if you look at the studies and the ones that's been involved in these shootings, there's a lot of mental health issues. If a counselor is in place at the schools to assess these students, then maybe we can stop a few of these.
Thank you. Randy White, your plan to increase school safety in Monroe County.
Yes, once again, like I say, we need to partner with the school system and the parents to make sure that our schools are made as safe as possible. So they'll be doing assessments, threat assessments on the outside of the schools, whether that be planting gates or fences around the schools, making sure there's one way in, one way out. Maybe looking at doing metal detectors on the doors for the kids when they're going in. I'm not opposed to looking at some teachers, if they're willing and the school system's willing, of training those folks and arming them in the schools. I believe that there's new materials out that we can look at to go into the classrooms that has like body armor stuff in it where they can use as drapes in case somebody does get into school. The ultimate goal would be to make sure they never enter the perimeter of the school. That's the way we can keep our kids safe, making sure they never get in to begin with. But maybe even adding panic alarms inside the room for the teachers. There's just a lot of things that we can do, but I think it's going to be sitting down at the table and having a serious conversation about what's going to work best for our schools.
Candidates for Monroe County Sheriff with us tonight as you listen in on WMTY and WDEH. You can also watch live video on our website right now, mytrueoldies.com. With the Advocate and Democrat working with us tonight. We appreciate them. Our next question, and we will start with Bill Bivens. We've touched on the law enforcement side of being sheriff. Let's talk about the administrative side. What do you see the biggest administrative issues facing the sheriff's office this time?
The new jail, I would think that's going to be the biggest thing, the biggest hurdle, the transition. Nobody's been there yet. Anybody here could possibly be the one that does that next. We've got to make certain we've got somebody in there that can do that, can go through the transition and implement what needs to be done in that jail. It's going to be a whole new ball game, going from the old jail to the new, and it's been something we've needed for a long time. But I think the jail part of it, the administrative part of that, and getting through that transition is going to be one of the biggest hurdles that we have.
Tommy Jones, biggest administrative issues facing the sheriff's office.
Well, I have to go with what Bill just said. This is going to be daylight and dark. We got 14,000 square feet right now. We're moving into 128,000 square feet Justice Center. Monroe County's never had Justice Center. Bill wasn't sheriff of one. I haven't been the sheriff of one. Randy hasn't been the chief of one. These things are something something we're going to have to look at, something we're going to have to adjust with. The state's requiring us to write policies right now for the Justice Center, have them in place as part of the development of the Justice Center. So those are being written. They have to be in place for the state to certify the new Justice Center. I'm proud that we've been able to keep the one we got open. I think it shows a lot, when you can take a building in the condition that was facing decertification within 4 days of us coming in 2014, we were able to get that jail certified and keep it certified. If you can't keep an old one certified, you ain't gonna keep a new one certified.
Thank you. Randy White, in your opinion, the biggest administrative issues facing Monroe County Sheriff's Office?
It always goes back to money. Going into this new Justice Center, like I say, it's going to be an increase in taxes. Oh, ain't taxes, excuse me. I said that wrong. It's going to be an increase in the cost to run it. We're going to go from about a $2.6 million operation right now at the old facility. It's going to be about $3.4 million at the new facility. We're going to have to hire, I think when I left to look at last, there's 8 more employees going into the new facility. You know, one of the things we're facing that's not been mentioned here tonight is our road deputies. Our road deputies are answering calls just one right after the other. They're overworked and they're underpaid. We're going to have to look at some way of getting more deputies on the road to answer the call volume we have. This county's growing, and as it grows, the department's going to have to grow with it, and there's going to have to be more revenue come in for that. So those are some challenges I think the new sheriff's going to have to deal with.
Thank you. Patrick Upton, the biggest administrative issues, in your opinion, facing the Monroe County Sheriff's Office?
I agree. The new jail is the biggest issue. And there's a misconception about, we've got this big $31 million jail that, we're going to move everybody over there and everything's going to be all right 8 or 10 years. But it's not. 3 to 5 years, the way it's projected, it's going to be overcrowded in 3 to 5 years. If that happens, we're going to have to spend $1.5 million to have a new pod built to cover it. We can provide, something else to cover that expense. We can use the annex. That will cut the extra cost of building a new pod. Problem with that, though, is the annex, you got 8 people. You got to man it, and you got to run them back and forth to the new Justice Center. I think that it's going to get tougher than people think when the new jail gets here, and somebody's got to be on top of it. That's the sheriff's job.
Thank you. Tommy Millsaps is going to ask a follow-up question to that question, and it will start with Tommy Jones here on the answering.
What is, and you may have touched on this a little bit, but what is the difference between operating a jail and a justice center?
Well, in some sense, I think it's going to be, I don't know if any of us can answer that. We've never operated a justice center before, but in some sense, I think it's going to be easier. It's going to be safer. We're going to have more advanced technology in place, like X-ray machines and scanners. The prisoners not going to be leaving as they do now, leaving the jail and being escorted or transported to a court. We're going to be self-contained inside the same building. So we should be able to limit contraband, and the court should be a lot safer than what they are today. That's what I'm seeing. The size difference, that'll be an issue, but the technology, the computer systems are in place that we're going to be operating off of in the new Justice Center. We put it in about a year ago, so the staff already knows the computer side of it. Biggest thing is just getting used to how we're going to house and to do true classifications of the inmates.
Thank you. Randy White, difference of operating a jail as opposed to a justice center in your mind?
Yes. Well, the justice center is going to be a lot more safe for our corrections officers than the current jail that we're running. They're not going to be faced with opening the door and facing 60 or 70 inmates. It'll be 2 to 4, depending on how many is out into the day room at the time. Management-wise, as far as our budgetary looks at it, I know with the old jail, right now, like I say, it's about $2.6 million to operate that facility. That's what we're looking at. We're looking about, I think it's $3.2 million is what it's going to be with the new Justice Center. Now, I did a budget before I left the Sheriff's Department for the new Justice Center, research and what have you to put that together. And that's what we're looking at, about $3.2 million, and as far as the budget increase. But it's going to save us a lot of time and manpower as far as transporting prisoners back and forth to court. It's going to be a lot safer for our corrections officers and our inmates as well.
Thank you. Patrick Upton.
Well, fortunately, I've worked inside a Justice Center since 2005, Loudoun County Sheriff's Office. And I will say it is a lot more convenient. It is safer. You have access to the DAs. You have access to the judge. Court system, it's easier to get the inmates up to the court system. The officers are easy to find, so it's a central place that's a lot better for everybody. But there is security concerns that you have to have with the Justice Center. Just because it's a big building and everybody's together doesn't mean there's not security concerns. One reason, you got the DA's office, you got the judges, you're going to hire somebody to be with the judge at all times. It doesn't matter if you got Justice Center, still going to have somebody there with them. DA's office, it's a lot of good things, but it's going to have to be managed in a way that everything runs smooth. If not, you're going to have everybody tripping over each other.
Thank you.
But it's nice.
Thank you. Bill Bivens, your opinion difference of operating a jail as opposed to a justice center?
It'd certainly be more safe and convenient as far as that goes. In the past and right now as it exists, taking inmates up to the sessions court, walking them up, there's a danger of escape. There's also a danger of somebody maybe have a grudge against somebody. Right now they could do anything with any inmate. There's going from the jail to the courthouse up in town. It's a safety issue, and I think with the new Justice Center it will be safer. And it probably, we're going to still have a lot of staff, and there's probably going to be an increase there. I don't know what studies they've done, but I'm sure maybe one will offset the other. You got people transporting and taking back and forth. Now you'll have them there in the one building. Safety and convenience, I think it'll be better.
Okay, thank you. And just as a follow-up to that, and we'll start with Randy White on this question, what would you prefer to see done with the old jail once everything's moved to the Justice Center?
Well, like I say, that building is, we're talking about the jail annex. I think the old jail is probably about seeing its best day. It's pretty dilapidated. It's worn pretty bad. Now, as Patrick stated earlier, the annex is still in pretty good shape, and it can be used as an overflow. And it may be something we want to look at, maybe is using it for the trustees. And that way you keep the people who are working out in public totally away from your Justice Center. That way you're making sure the narcotics or nothing like that are finding their way back in. If they do, then it's got to be coming in by an employee or somebody other than a trustee.
Thank you, Patrick Upton. What would you like to see done with the old jail and annex?
Well, the old jail's going to have to go. It's bad shape. It's been bad shape for years. So it's going to have to go. Annex, we're going to have to save the annex. Like I said earlier, it's going to have to be saved and manned because in a few years we're going to need it, regardless if anybody's in it at first at all. So we're going to have to save it and use it to save money from building another pod when this new jail gets overcrowded in 3 or 4 years. If we keep going at the rate we're going.
Thank you, Bill Bivens. Old jail and annex, what do you like to see happen?
Of course, the old jail is the original one, close to 60 years old, I think. And it's been added on and rebuilt. It's beyond its time. It's way past it should have done been gone, I think. The annex, of course, it's a good building. It was put together just before I took office in 2006. Still in good shape. It would be a good overflow. I would think that the county commissioners, if we're looking at an overcrowdedness within 3 to 5 years, I'd certainly hope that the county commission is looking a little further ahead than that. And if they need to put another pod, they need to do that now while construction's going on. You go back and start remodeling, it's going to cost you a whole lot more. If we need it, we need to do it now. You don't want to separate the two. If you've got a new building, I wouldn't want to see it as an overflow. But if that way it works out, we should probably save it for that.
Thank you. Tommy Jones, your plan, would you like to see done with the old jail and annex building?
Like everyone else said, the old jail, it's had its day. It's just time to shut the doors on it, open up the Justice Center. I'm in support. I've been talking to the mayor and the commission as far as leaving the annex open. The annex is in great shape. I've met with TCI, talked to them. The inspectors have said there's no issues, no problems with keeping it open and keeping it certified. That's 63 beds. That saves us right now about $1.5 million from completing the pod that's the additional pod at the Justice Center. You know, I think that's the best ideal, best way of handling it is to, you know, it's like a house. If you move out of a house for 3 or 4 years and it kind of starts to fall apart and deteriorate. If we shut the annex down for 3 or 4 years, maybe 5 years, and have to reopen it, well, who says it's going to pass certification at that time? So keep it open, keep our workers or workers inside of it or trustees, and should be able to eliminate a lot of contraband at the Justice Center.
Thank you. All right, Tommy Millsaps, the Advocate Democrat newspaper, has our next question, and it will go to Patrick Upton to start.
How do you feel the cooperation is between the Monroe County Sheriff's Office and the local city department, state, and even federal and DA? How do you think the cooperation is, and what would you do to improve upon it if you see areas that need it?
Well, I'm glad you asked that, because that was one of my things that I want to plan on doing. It's not good. It could be better. I think the sheriff needs to meet with the city chiefs monthly. They need to go over crime trends, talk about their officers, who's doing what good, who's doing what wrong. Right now, we can sit up here and pretend, but there's a animosity between these chiefs and sheriffs. I don't know who started it. I'm not saying it's a certain person's fault. Somebody's got to come to the table and come together. All our jobs, law enforcement. I've been doing it 31 years, and we've got to stick together. Somebody's got to come up to the plate. Like I said, it's not where it should be, and it's definitely not where it should be with the feds.
Bill, what's your opinion? Bill Bivens, what's your opinion on the county sheriff's office, the working relationship with city and other levels of law enforcement?
I feel like during the 8 years that I was in there, it took a little while for us to get known together, I guess, but I felt like we had a great organization working together. We're all law enforcement, and I felt we worked good with TBI, the FBI, everything worked really smooth, I felt like. As far as training and different things that we did, I felt comfortable. Anytime I could pick up the phone and talk to any chief in the county, and I feel like they would help me. If they called me, I would have helped them. And we did that. And we done a lot of stuff with the burglary task force, different programs that we had. But I feel like we had a very good working relationship I was very proud of. I felt like when I left office, we had a turnkey sheriff's department. Anybody that went in, all they had to do was go to work.
Thank you. Tommy Jones, your opinion of the sheriff's office working relationship with other levels of law enforcement?
First couple of years, it was rocky with a couple of our local agencies. I believe any person here takes office, it'd be the same way. Like Bill just said, it takes time to get to know each other and how you're going to operate. As of today, we have a great relationship with our local police departments. The surrounding counties, we have a good relationship with them. Worked a case last year with the DEA in the Sweetwater area, great relationship there. We have a case going right now with ATF and the FBI, all three agencies working together. Yeah, I'd love to have a monthly meeting with all the chiefs. With their schedules being the way they are, mine being the way it is, I don't know if that's possible or not. Wish it was. Wish we could have bi-weekly meetings, but sometimes those things are not possible. Everyone's real busy. But as of today, things are going good.
Thank you. Randy White, same question.
Yes. Well, I think it's imperative that we all work together because we're on the same, we're all in this together to work to solve crime and keep our community safe. I think sometimes where the rub comes is it's kind of like I don't want to say a turf war, but it's kind of like people get kind of protective of their area. And if they feel like one department's infringing upon their area, they get a little offended by it. So I think that's something we need to work with and understand we're just all in this together. We're working hard for one goal, and that's to keep our community safe.
You're listening to Monroe County Political Forum tonight. We got the candidates for Monroe County Sheriffs here with us tonight. Democrat Bill Bivens, Republican, and Tommy Jones, the incumbent Republican, Randy White, and Democrat Patrick Upton. Guys, thank you for being here. A couple more questions for you tonight before we get to closing arguments. And this one will start with Bill Bivens. What, if any, new equipment would you like to see in the Sheriff's Department?
I think the Sheriff's Department is getting more modern. The body cameras are essential. We've seen things all over the country where shootings were occurring that were controversial. Making sure that our officers are doing their job with this equipment. The equipment they have now with the CADs into the cars, that's advanced. We didn't have that while I was sheriff. I always wanted it. We put computers in the cars. Technology is very important. I think it safeguards our officers as well as the public. And I think that along with the schools and being able to see what's going on there, that's very important. The latest technology, I think we're kind of hitting that now. And we had the Crimes Against Children program that had a lot of technology, and it kept these sex offenders. You know, we worked on that during the time I was there. So there's a lot of things and a lot of technology in the county now, and I'm proud of it.
Thank you. Tommy Jones, what equipment, if any, new equipment's needed in the Sheriff's Office, Sheriff's Department?
Well, there's always new equipment needed. You know, I think if you look historically from the 1970s to today, each sheriff that's been in office has grown the sheriff's office. Like Bill said, when he came in office, he put computers in the cars, and we advanced off of that, and we put the CADs in the cars. We put GPS tracking in the cars. All deputies have body cams, and actually there's 4 cameras in every car. Our deputies are now, with the approval through county commission, I'm very grateful for, on a 5-year rotation. Our fleet is on a 5-year rotation. Body armor is on a 4-year rotation. Tasers are on a 4-year rotation. So it means every 4 years, you know, we're getting updated body armor, updated tasers, and every 5 years a new fleet rolling in. You know, technology changes every day. And yeah, you know, this phone comes out today, it's the greatest thing in the world, and 2 weeks from now it's going to be a paperweight and there's going to be a new one. But does it function any better? Who knows? So we will continue to look at growth, but very steadily.
Thank you. Randy White.
I think the biggest concern that we got facing right now as far as equipment in the Sheriff's Department is communication equipment. That's something I think we need to work on, as we still have a lot of places in our county where officers can't get out on the radio. If they got into a bad situation, they needed help, they couldn't get it. That radio is our lifeline, and in some cases it's more important to them than the weapon they carry on their hip. If you can't communicate, then you can't do anything. It's hard to do your job. So I think that's one thing we need to look at in great detail is the communication equipment, upgrading it so that our officers can communicate with dispatch and with each other.
Thank you. Patrick Upton, what new equipment, if any, would you like to see in the Sheriff's Office?
Well, I agree with these guys. You know, we've got to have the body cameras. You know, that's a must. The radio systems are a must because, like Randy said, it's officer safety. We was able to get a grant in Loudoun County, and we can talk on them things, I mean, pretty much anywhere. Our walkie-talkies, we can talk almost in Nashville on a walkie-talkie. We had to get grants. I'm going to have people that write grants and get some of these items for us so the county don't have to pay for them. Another thing, we're going to have some equipment for a SWAT team. I'm going to have a certified SWAT team. That means we got to have automatic weapons. We got to have special vests, flash grenades. We got to have even a robot if it's feasible. We may try to get a grant for that. So there's a lot of things out there that we've got to take advantage of as far as equipment.
Thank you. Tommy Millsaps, and this will be our last question of the evening. Tommy Millsaps, the Advocate Democrat, going to ask this, and we'll start with Tommy Jones on the answering.
What do you think needs to be done to improve the public's perception of the Sheriff's Office and their understanding of it, what it does?
We've tried. We've got a Facebook page in place. We've updated our web page. We try to put as much information out as possible so the public knows what we're doing. We created this past year a Citizens Police Academy. We've got the public coming in. We do allow ride-alongs with the public with the signer of a waiver. I want the public more involved with the Sheriff's Office. I mean, we have open door policy, Anyone's welcome to come in, talk to us, ask questions. We need to do, and I would like to do more community events, so they get more opportunity to meet me, to meet my deputies, and can't see who we are and what we're about. I'd like to see that happen in the future.
Thank you. Randy White, how to improve the community's perception of law enforcement.
Yes, I believe education is the only way you can do that, and transparency and being accountable. I think we're making the public aware of situations that's going on within the department, whether it be good or bad, and when we make a mistake, we own up to it. And if we do something good, we let the public be known about it. I think it'd be good if we could have some way of maybe getting our word out through the papers. I think that's a great tool. Just letting people know what's going on within the sheriff's department. Doing presentations for social groups and their churches. Let them know what the sheriff's department is. Like I say, we have an open door policy where people can come in, they can look. Like I say, this is not our department. This belongs to the public. This is the Monroe County Sheriff's Department. It's not Randy White Sheriff's Department or Tommy Jones or Patrick Upton. It belongs to the people of Monroe County, and they deserve the right to know what's going on within that department.
Thank you. Patrick Upton, same question.
There's several things we can do. Citizen Academy, Tommy hit on, that was mirrored from the Sheriff's Office of Loudoun County. I started the first Citizens Academy in Loudoun County. We're also going to have a Teen Citizens Academy, if elected, for the young people and high schoolers. We're going to have a cadet program for young people to get involved in police work. All that helps people work with police. We're going to have monthly citizen invites. We'll go different places of the county, invite different communities. They can come and speak any kind of concerns they may have in education. But one of the most important things is the sheriff has to be in the office. If somebody comes in to talk to the sheriff, he needs to talk to them. Doesn't matter if they're from out back under a bridge or live on a house on the hill. It's got to talk to them, and we've got to open up to them.
Thank you. Bill Bivens, what do you do to help change the public's perspective of the sheriff's office and law enforcement as a whole?
I think across the nation we've seen a lot of shootings and stuff. It's made law enforcement look bad in a sense. But, I think events and such as that will help. That's a hurdle that I'm sure a lot are having to go over right now. That's the reason for the body cameras and such. But events, being at the sheriff's department, being available when the public comes in, a lot of times the public wants to talk to the sheriff. And I made myself available. I made sure I was there. And in fact, if I missed a phone call on my cell phone or the office, I would go to 10 o'clock at night calling back. I got lots of calls, and it's a job being sheriff. And you've got to be available. You've got to be able to talk to the people and help with their needs. Sometimes you can help, sometimes you can't. But be there, answer the call them back. I've always been available.
Thank you very much. That's our last question for the Monroe County Sheriff candidates. We're now ready for closing remarks. Each candidate will have 90 seconds for their closing remarks, and we'll go to Randy White to start the closing remarks.
First, I'd like to thank you to everyone that tuned in tonight to listen. I'd like to thank the African Democrat and WMTY for having this debate. If elected your sheriff, I will make myself available to you. I'll be in the office and be there to receive you and talk to you about any complaint or problem that you may have, and would address that accordingly in a timely fashion. In 2014, you elected me once to be your sheriff. Again, you didn't get the opportunity to serve, but I'm asking you for your vote, your support, and an opportunity once again to serve as your sheriff. And if given that opportunity, I will do my best to make sure you have a department that you can be proud of. Thank you.
Thank you. Patrick Upton, closing remarks.
I think if you elect me, you're going to elect the most qualified guy up here, period. I think if I'm elected, I'm going to put a stop to all this bickering and other things that's going on. But I want to spend the rest of my time and go over some of these programs if I could. I know I need to do it pretty quick. But I'm going to have a new school security SOP, a certified SWAT team, Citizen Review Board for complaints, Monroe County Drug and Violent Task Force, a Theft and Burglary Task Force, a Merit Board for Employee Protection, Annual Employee Evaluation, New Jail Alternatives for First-Time Drug Offenders, Repeat Offender Policy. Note, anyone qualified under Repeat Offender Policy cannot work as an informant. I will lead a new cold case unit myself. Part-time investigators will be there to help on thefts and burglaries. We'll have a Teen Citizens Sheriff Academy, Citizen Jail Review Team, Deputy Cadet Program for high schools, foot patrols for high crime areas. We're also going to have a Sessions Court Coordinator to help the deputies and victims. We're going to have a Victim Witness Coordinator in the Sheriff's Office. We're going to have monthly meetings with local chiefs of police, Sweetwater, Vonore, Tellico, and Massville. And we'll partner with TVAC, Tennessee Vulnerable Adult Coalition, to help older adults. And I'm not going to talk. I'm going to do every one of these, half of them or more the first month in office.
Thank you very much. Bill Bivens, closing remarks.
I've had the opportunity to serve you as sheriff, and I put my heart and soul into it. I can tell you that the sheriff's job is one of the most controversial jobs of any position in the county. I've always been available. I've worked hard to make sure I was available, and I would be available once more given the opportunity. A lot of times, you know, things happen. There's more than one party involved, and even doing it by the book. Sometimes some understand, some don't. Being there and talking to the folks, I think, is very important. I've tried to be a fair and honest and impartial in all my duties in law enforcement as a sheriff. And I've pledged to do the same thing again, given the opportunity to serve you once again. Thank you.
Thank you. Tommy Jones, closing remarks.
When I was a sergeant working there under Sheriff Bivens, there's a lot of things I said I'd do different. When I was a deputy working under Sheriff Watson, there's a lot of things I said I would do different. Now, finding myself as the sheriff, there's a lot of things I want to do different, but it's just not possible. Each and every person sits up here and tell you what they want to do, what their plans and goals are, and what they're going to do. It takes approval, a lot of it through the county commission. And you have to have everyone working together to get these things approved and to move on and make the county better and safer. I hope I've proven in the past few years as the sitting sheriff that I am conservative with your tax dollars. Like I said, we've been able to turn in well over $1.5 million back into the fund balance. We've increased our staffing without any new taxes, without any new tax dollars. And with the Justice Center coming and being in place the way it is, being a part of that process, it's going to be a challenge for someone new to come in and take over in that position. The budget has, like Randy said earlier, you know, something he's done. It's an estimated budget, $3.2 million, and truthfully, we won't know till we get there of what this is going to cost this county to operate that Justice Center. I feel like I've proven myself with coming in office the way I did, that I have been and can be a good sheriff for this county.
Thank you. Gentlemen, once again, thank you for being here tonight. I want to thank our candidates, Democrat Bill Bivens, Republican Tommy Jones, the incumbent, Republican Randy White, and Democrat Patrick Upton. Thank you guys again, and I'm sure they would appreciate your vote. The early voting for primary begins on April the 11th, and the vote on May the 1st, Election Day, in the primary race. Thank you again. Thank our mayor candidates who were earlier, Tommy and Millsaps, and the newspaper Advocate Democrat. Thank you. We've enjoyed it. Thank you for listening. Thank you for watching tonight. As we close out, we're going to hear from our forum sponsors one more time. So again, thank you for listening in and watching tonight. I'm Brian Birchfield saying good night, everybody.
Thank you.
Century 21 Howe Realty and Auction in Sweetwater is a full-service real estate company. They have 32 agents ready to give you personalized assistance in the purchase of your dream home, or if you need to sell your current one. If you're in need of an auctioneer for the sale of land, homes, commercial equipment, machinery, and more, call Cowboy Jimmy, Danny, Jim, Bryant, or Bill at Century 21 Howe Realty and Auction today and let them work for you. Call 423-337-9355. That's 423 423-337-9355 or visit them online at c21howl.com. That's the letter C, 21howe.com.
Buying your first home is a very special and exciting experience. Becoming a homeowner is all part of the American dream. Volunteer Federal Loan Officer Tamarin Crowder at the Sweetwater branch on the Sweetwater-Vonore Road can help turn your new home dream into reality. Volunteer Federal is Monroe County's oldest mortgage lender. They're the mortgage experts, local folks you can depend on and trust. Phone 337-3737. Volunteer Federal, member FDIC, and equal housing lender.
Hi, this is Jim Fairweather. I'm the owner and founder of Fairweather Financial right here in Monroe County. The financial services industry is constantly in motion. One day your advisor is here, the next day somewhere else. If your financial advisor has recently changed companies, retired, or just left the business, I invite you to let Fairweather Financial have an opportunity to earn your trust. As an independent wealth manager, I don't have any quotas to meet, nor sales contests to compete in. I work for only you, my valued client. I invite you today to give us a call at 423-337-6565 or check us out on the web. Just Google Fairweather Financial or like our Facebook page. We would love to have the opportunity to earn your business.
Securities offered through LPL Financial, member FINRA, SIPC.
Hey folks, want to tell you about a new business neighbor, Turner Automotive, a complete automotive repair facility servicing foreign and domestic vehicles. If your needs are of welding and fabrication, they can provide you fabrication and modifications to meet your needs. They feature Sunoco racing fuels, whether it's drag racing, dirt track, or off-road. They've got the fuels to meet your needs. That's Turner Automotive, a complete automotive repair facility located at 2522 Highway 411 South, Madisonville. Give them a call at 423-420-0212 or visit them on the web, turner-auto.com.
Little Drugs Family Wellness Center is celebrating 60 years of serving this community. As part of the celebration, Little's is having a prize drawing every month in 2018. To register for the drawings, stop by the store on Main Street in Sweetwater. Little Drugs Family Wellness Center is your hometown drugstore. They offer compounding, compliance packaging, and 24-hour emergency